When it comes to leadership, let me just say a couple of things, because people really complicate it. Inspirational leadership is an emotional thing. It's all about making time for people. No matter how busy, how crazy, how hectic you are as a manager, as a boss, whatever your title is, you have to make time for people. Secondly, you somehow have to show people that you really care. You care about them. Now, I don't mind coming and working for you. I don't mind commuting into work. I don't mind doing long hours and dealing with incredibly difficult people, perhaps, as long as I think you care.
Welcome back to the Believe in Yourself podcast. Today's guest is one of the UK's most sought-after motivational speakers, specialising in delivering inspiring key messages, practical tools in a humorous and down-to-earth style that allows audiences to easily relate and to remember these important messages. He is also the best-selling author and creator of TNTs, Tiny Noticeable Things. Please welcome Adrian Webster.
Hello, Luke. How are you? Thank you for such a generous introduction there. Wow. Can you see my head from where you are in Wales?
No, not yet. No, it's thoroughly deserved, Adrian. I think the work that you've been doing has been amazing, and to hear some of the stuff you've been up to is definitely deserved that introduction. So I'd like to start off with finding out more about you and kind of the beginning of your journey. Understanding that you started off your career as a police officer in Bristol, but
Yes.
unable to contain that entrepreneurial spirit inside of you, went into starting a very innovative dairy business. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. In Somerset, started up a company there, called it Mend It Marigold, and it was all fresh farm milk delivered from the cow straight to your doorstep. So they're exciting times. They were fun. It was completely new to me. Never done anything like it in my life, but learned an awful lot from it. So it was useful lessons I was able later on in life to sort of take with me and hopefully put to good use.
And what was those specific lessons that you learned during those times?
Well, I think the number one lesson I learned from all of it was that you can make things happen. You know, you can do stuff. You can, if you have belief in yourself and belief in what you're trying to achieve, you can make things happen. We all sit and read about people. We sort of watch people in the media, on the television, and sort of see these people doing these incredible things. And probably you sit there thinking, well, you know, I don't think I could do that. Well, you can. You know, it's as simple as that. You know, it always seems impossible until it's done. That's the one. And that was Nelson Mandela, and that's true. You know, you start a business up, it's scary, you're nervous, you're apprehensive, it's worrying, but you go with your heart, and if you really believe in what you're doing, and you know deep down it's making a bit of a difference to other people, you keep going with it, and things always turn out pretty good. So yeah.
Besides the lesson there of believing that you can do something, and I love the famous quote of saying, those who say they can and those they say they can't are both usually right. Why is it so important to believe in yourself, to understand that you can do something, especially in those early days when you start out, when things, like you said, are difficult?
When we say about believing in yourself, I think what you've got to do, you've got to know what your talents are. We're all completely unique. You know, nobody to me is a nobody. Everybody is somebody. Everybody has something to offer. But you've got to understand what you are. So let's look at it like this. Say you decide that you're going to be some famous rock star or something like that, or I don't know, a Premiership footballer, and you just don't have those talents to get there. You're going to feel depressed. You're gonna get down and start beating yourself up, because that's not you. So I think one of the keys I've learned is you've got to think, well, what am I good at? What are the things I really like? Because the things you really like are the things you're going to be good at. So what am I really passionate about? What excites me? I then go for it and make the most of those talents. But you've got to have some realism to it. You can't sort of think, well, you know, yeah, I'm going to be whatever it is, some, you know, famous rapper or something like that. You know, I know exactly what I am. I'm a motivational speaker. I absolutely love what I do. I'm completely passionate about speaking. I'm passionate about the people I'm speaking to, about making a difference. I could not want to be anything else. If someone contacted me and said, we'd love you to be in a band or whatever it is, or I don't know, that's not me. So believe in the talents that you have. When I say about believing in yourself, and don't listen to other people's opinions. Over the years, I've had so many people come up with opinions are just opinions. As I make a joke about when I'm speaking sometimes, they're like farts. Everybody likes their own. It's opinions are just opinions. And the funny thing is, you'll hear all these opinions when you're trying to make it somewhere. And then when you do make it, or when you get somewhere, they're the people who come out and say, oh, I always knew you'd make it. Wow, well done, congratulations. And you look at them and just smile, So opinions are just opinions. Everybody's got a different opinion. Believe in your heart, know what you are, know what talents you have, and get out there and knock on doors and plow ahead with it, make it happen.
So many people that I've worked with previously, they say about, when you talk about finding their passions, and like you perfectly summarized it, and finding out, what they're good at and what they enjoy doing and follow your heart with that. So many people come back and say, well, I'm not passionate about anything, or I don't know what I'm good at. So what would you say to somebody who maybe hasn't discovered their passions yet, or haven't decided what they were good at? What would your advice be for them to discover that?
They haven't tried enough things. They haven't had a go at enough things. You've got to be prepared to fail. You've got to be prepared to make mistakes. All the most successful people on this planet have made mistakes. We all make mistakes. You've got to be prepared to fail. You've got to come out your comfort zone and have a go at stuff and try and dare to do things a little bit different. You'd astonish yourself. You'd be amazed. When you find that thing that is your passion, I don't know. You just do it, and then you just can't stop doing it. You just love it, but you'll know it when you find it. It's about finding a partner in life, the right person. You just know it when you're with them. It's as good as that.
And when it comes down to talking about failure, because I truly believe it's so important to talk about failures and share failures with other people, because that's how we normalize the fact that, we all fail. We all take backward steps. It was just like we were learning to walk. We all, fell down the first time we tried to take our first steps forward, but we pick ourselves up and we go again. Why do you think people are scared of failure?
Because I think they think it's going to hurt. It's going to be, it's going to hurt. They're probably going to feel embarrassed. It's a bit like falling off your bicycle, in the middle of a busy high street. Everyone's looking at you and you just want to get back on it and disappear. That's probably the main reason. And then when you get a bit older, obviously, if it's a business or something, you're putting money into it and you're taking a financial risk, because as you get older, you're a little bit more, you become more, what's the word, Luke, I'm looking for? But you become more risk adverse, especially when you've spent years trying to, make a bit of money, and you've got to, but most people just want to sort of drift through life and stay in their comfort zone. And I've got nothing against that. That's up to them, and I wish them all the best. If they're happy, if they're content, good luck to them. That's not me. I like to do things different. I'll be really fed up if I die and I haven't sort of, last thing I want is to be there lying, or wherever it is, I'm sat there lying in some home or something, and looking back thinking, I wished I'd done that, or I could have done that, or one of my grandkids coming up to me and saying, but why didn't you? I don't know. It'd be too late then. So I just see it that we've got such a short span of time on this planet. It's so brief. It's a fleeting moment. It's what I call the 44.4 seconds. And it's up to us to get out there, to believe in life before death, and make the most of the opportunities you have, the talents that you have, no matter who you are.
And coming back to, the lessons that you've learned through business and you've learned through your personal journey, have you ever gone through any hurdles personally that you've had to overcome? And if you have done, then, what were the steps, or how did you overcome them?
Well, I take sort of well, I used to do when I was younger, especially, I take rejection and criticism very sort of personally. And I had years, at school, I wasn't particularly academic, and I was, always told, that was always pointed out to me, and I was told I wouldn't amount to anything. I wouldn't sort of really, end up doing anything special. People, I've had teachers and tell me that to my face. And then when I started writing the book, I had people turn around to me and say, "You'll never write a book." I've had, when I started on the speaker circuit as a professional speaker many years ago, I remember one guy in particular taking me aside after I'd spoke at this event, and he said to me, "You're never going to make it." I said, "Why not?" He said, "You don't look $1 million. You're just not you don't look like a professional motivational speaker." You listen to these people, it's just sort of, just smile at them. I'd say that, smile, and then sort of, and give it a go. Because I'd go even further than that. I'd say that when someone says that to you, take it the reverse of it. If someone says to me, "Oh, you can't do that," I always take it, "Well, why are you telling me that? There must be a reason. I bet I can." So I've had people just about all my life, especially when I was younger, putting me down, saying, "You're never going to be amounting to anything. You haven't got this. You're not a bright guy. You're not this. You're not that. You're not." All big, NT words. Don't. You mustn't. You can't. All these sort of stuff. And it's just a red rag to a bull when someone says stuff like that to me these days. So.
And when it comes down to proving people wrong, and being able to take criticism and rejection and all those things.
Just jump in there. You sort of, the initial thought is to prove them wrong, but then you sort of go beyond that. You don't sort of think about that anymore. It's just you want to ping them a sort of you want to drop them a note to say thank you. Thanks for the inspiration. Thank you. Thank you for driving me to be an author and a motivational speaker.
How important is mindset when it comes to taking on those personal challenges?
It's everything, isn't it? It's everything. At the end of the day, you'll hear it all the time. Excuse the language now, but shit happens. It's how you deal with it. It's just the attitude you take to anything. You can look at anything, any situation in life, and it's how you come away from that, the attitude you take, and the action that you take as a result of that. Yeah, mindset, everything, attitude. When I was recruiting people in the IT industry, I used to sort of sound a bit odd, but I'd sort of I'd go into a petrol station one night, for example, and there'd be some young guy, young girl, whatever, serving people. It'd be really busy. And I'd notice that they were still smiling no matter the pressure they were under. And they'd make a comment like, "Thank you very much, Mr. Webster." They'd notice my name on my credit card I was paying for. And I used to hang around. I used to sort of stand to the side, and when it had all quieted down a bit, I'd say, "Can I just have a quick chat with you? I'd love you to come and work in the IT industry with me." And the initial reaction was often, "Oh, I don't know anything about IT." And I'd say, "I don't care, we can train you that. We can train that. What I want is your attitude. I want that attitude." I always recruited attitude first with my people.
And why is that important?
Because it's so difficult to give people attitude. You can train skills, you can do that, but it's a lot harder. You can do it, but it's a lot more difficult to train an attitude.
And where do these leadership lessons come from when it comes to looking at people's attitudes and how they approach things rather than maybe what they say or do?
Well, it started for me really when I started the dairy business up. I somehow had people that I had to look after and try and engage, try and inspire, try to motivate. We were such a small, tiny business competing with enormous dairy companies, and I had to sort of get the very best out of my people, and together really try and make a difference out there. So that's where the sort of skills started coming in. I started realizing I don't know, that when it comes to leadership, let me just say a couple of things, because people really complicate it. Inspirational leadership is an emotional thing. It's all about making time for people. No matter how busy, how crazy, how hectic you are as a manager, as a boss, whatever your title is, you have to make time for people. Secondly, you somehow have to show people that you really care. You care about them. Now, I don't mind coming and working for you. I don't mind commuting into work. I don't mind doing long hours and dealing with incredibly difficult people, perhaps, as long as I think you care and people around me care. The moment I think people don't really care is the day I start looking for another job. And the third thing is you have to be human. You have to have fallibility. You have to be authentic, to be yourself. Anybody watching this podcast is going into management, please never, ever try to do perfect. Don't try to be perfect, sorry. Try and achieve excellence, but you yourself, don't try to come across to people as perfect. You know, it's the old joke, you know, it's why they put rubbers on pencils, bumpers on cars. You know, nobody's perfect out there. And if you try to be perfect, people will really, really struggle to engage with you. They won't believe it. At the end of the day, leadership, getting the best out of people, is all about how we make people feel. And all I know, Luke, is great people make people feel great. And I want people in my team to feel absolutely great about themselves. And I know that if they feel great, then together we can really make a difference and we'll be successful.
And when it comes to in organizations, is there necessarily one person in a business that is responsible for making everyone else feel great and having a...
No, we're all leaders. Everybody. That is the one key thing about it. Everybody has to take ownership. Everybody has to take collective responsibility for that. It's not down to one person. If it's down to one person, you as a team, you're going to fail. You're going to flounder. Everybody in that team, and I mean everybody, the under assistants, the assistants, under assistants, everybody is responsible for that.
But I think it's something that some of us often underestimate because it's so simple. What are the simple ways and what are the ways that we can do and take action to make people feel great?
Right. Well, the biggest actions you can take are the things I call the TNTs. TNT stands for tiny, noticeable things. They're absolutely tiny, but are incredibly explosive. They create the biggest, longest, lasting pictures in people's minds. I feel like I'm doing my talk on stage here. They're explosive little things that we do that show that you have taken time, that show you do care about people, and they show that you are a human being. They show warmth. And TNTs, especially in this automated world that we're living in these days, this increasingly automated world, are becoming more and more scarce. If there's anything of any good that is coming out of this awful period we're going through with COVID-19, it is some of the TNT actions that people are doing for each other. Some of those incredible little things that people are going out their way just to sort of let people know they're there for them, show them that they care, and together we'll get through it. So it's all the TNT things. Never, ever underestimate the TNTs. I think as someone once famously said about TNTs, you know, they may be little things to you, but to other people, they're big things. TNTs, the tiny noticeable things, are all the little things that people don't need to do, but they do. And they could be as small as a smile at the right time. They could be remembering someone's first name, someone you've not seen for a while. Remembering if that person, you know, takes milk in their tea or 2 sugars. A handwritten note in the world of emails and text messages. People long forget an email text. They'll never forget that handwritten note. They're all little things, little actions. And, you know, again, as someone once famously said, you know, when you look back on your life, you realize all the little things, but actually the big things. You know, I bet you, Luke, you know, you're a young guy, but when you look back on your life, you know, I bet the best times you ever had, the times you're the most happy, it was never to do with sort of spending loads of money, it was just probably the smallest of moments that you treasure that made such a difference to you. I'm banging on about TNTs. I can't stress them enough to anybody working in a team or serving customers or whatever it is you're doing out there in the workplace. The TNTs, the tiny noticeable things, are the things that blow people away. The things that And when it comes to customer service, they're the difference between 4 and 5-star customer service. They're the things that customers remember, the tiniest of things.
I think that's so important to remember. Like you said there perfectly. Often when I do talks, I receive lots of messages normally, like people, if they've helped, if they've enjoyed it, or not. And one of the messages that I'll always remember is when one school specifically took the time out to write me a handwritten letter, a review.
Yes.
So rather than sharing a message online, they took the time out to write some letters. And a couple of weeks after my talk, I received 10 handwritten letters through the post of how I helped. And that is something that it's in my memorabilia, and it's something that I'll always remember, because that person had gone the extra mile to take time out to write something down.
How does that make you feel that when you open those letters? You know, it's priceless, isn't it?
It is, and it's one of the things where if I'm ever having a bad day or I question what I do for a living, then you always go back and remind yourself, because of the impact you're making, and you can see the difference there. But when it comes to customers, and we talk about how TNTs are the difference between 4-star and 5-star customer service, why is it important that we put customers at the heart of everything that we do?
Put customers at the heart of everything. Everything else follows on the back of that. So if you're starting a business up tomorrow and you're just thinking about the money you're going to make from it, you've got a much higher chance of failure. If you start a business up thinking, what can I really do, or what can we really do that's going to really help people? What is it that people don't have? What problems do people have out there that we can offer them a solution to that makes their life easier? If you can look at it that way, about thinking about the customer, looking at yourself through their eyes all the time, the money side of it, everything else will follow. You will be successful. You know, it's like I get people asking me about going into motivational speaking, and I realize, having chatted to them for 5 or 10 minutes, that they're thinking about it, that they could make some money from it, they can earn a living from it, whatever, and they're coming about it from the wrong angle. If you really have a passion for people like I do, really believe in people and want to help people and make a difference, that will show when you're speaking. That will come across to an audience, and as a byproduct of that, you'll earn a very good living from it if you're really good at it. And going back to those TNTs, the one thing I forgot to say is they're absolutely free. The crazy thing is about TNTs, I had to put TNTs into place because I never had the luxury of having loads of money to spend. I never had the money, the budgets, the massive, much bigger competitors than we ever had. So we just had to do all the little TNT things, not all the tiny noticeable things, consistently better than any of our competitors out there. That's where they came from. So putting customers at the heart of everything is absolutely fundamental to being a successful business or a successful individual.
Tough times like this, especially during the recent pandemic, I realize a lot of people are going through it. Why is it more important than now that we are focusing on those small things, them TNTs, to build that great relationships for our customers, so then when things do come back to normal, we have a stronger bond than we did previously?
Well, I'm hoping if something comes out of this, is that sort of business leaders out there, they'll take note of the difference that the little things are making to people. Perhaps when eventually we do get back to normal, if that's the right word, people will be taking a little bit more time for each other. Perhaps, I'm hoping that lessons are learned here, that we've realized that how important these little things are to people. That's what I'm hoping. There is no more time I can ever think of where it's been more important that we show people around us how much we care at the moment. That little, hello, just want to know you are, text message, quick Insta message, whatever, to a mate, just saying how you're doing, all this sort of stuff, hope you're okay, as well as, more elderly people in your area, just, I don't know, knocking on their door, whatever, stepping back 2 meters and saying, just going off shopping, anything you need, the little things. They're the things that people, because if you think about it, we're lucky, I'm lucky, I've got, family around me in my house now, but, if you're a person, an elderly person whose life, it's terribly lonely as it is, And now with self-isolation, you know, it just must be terrifying for some of those people out there. It must be just awful beyond words. And so that knock on their door, that doorbell, the smiling, friendly face, wow, what a difference, eh?
These things cost nothing, they're free of charge, and they're
Yeah.
things that we can all be doing better in our lives. But when it comes to making
And they make
great...
if you want to be a bit selfish, they make you feel better as well. When we do kind things, when we do acts of kindness for people, you know, something lights up inside us as well. And there's no better feeling for me than when a little boom of a little TNT explodes in someone's head, and you see their eyes light up and a smile comes across their face. You know, TNTs, they put very big smiles on people's faces, and when their face lights up, something inside you lights up. You know.
And what makes the difference between being a good leader and a great leader?
What a question. A good leader and a great leader is, I would say, a great leader takes people with them. A great leader makes people feel like they have ownership of their own direction and has responsibility. I, as a leader, always try to be more enthusiastic about other people and what they were capable of achieving than they were themselves. If you want people to follow you, to engage with you, to listen to you, be more passionate about them and what they are capable of than they are themselves. I'll tell you this, Luke, there's a lot of people in the world of sport who've gone a lot further than they ever dreamt they could because they met someone who believed they could. So I think it's someone who takes people with them. I think it's someone who has sincere, genuine belief in people. And I think it's a person who is authentic. People don't zip up at the back. People aren't stupid. People can sense, they can feel insincerity amongst people. You can't fake being a leader. But if you talk from your heart to people, if you show them how much you believe in them, and if all you have at the end of the day is passion for what you're trying to achieve, you're going to get people wanting to make changes for themselves and take ownership for themselves. That was a very long answer, wasn't it? But it's not theory. It's not rocket science. It's not theory. You know, just be more passionate about other people than they are themselves. Give it a go, and honestly, and see how they react to that. You'll have people looking 6 inches taller with some massive grins on their faces when they see how much you believe in them.
Great leaders and people who have inspired you along your journey. Who are the leaders that you look back and you've recognized them as being, you know, they were a great leader and someone who may have inspired you?
Oh, wow. I'll tell you one person in particular. It was when I was in the police all those years ago. I was rubbish at being a police officer. I just wasn't sort of, I don't know, several reasons really. I used to spend half my time letting people off, if I'm honest with you. I'm just, I don't know, but we had an exceptional leader, a guy called Richard Allen. Richard Allen was in St. Paul's in Bristol, and he could just make you feel $1 million. I'd never ever met anybody like him or worked for anyone like him. All the things I've just said to you are the things that he did the whole time. He had absolute belief in his people. He'd give you responsibility. He'd make you feel like you had absolute ownership over everything you were doing. And he was a great listener as well. And you could talk to him. He had empathy with people. He was just incredible. A larger than life person, Richard Allen.
And when it comes down to having leaders like that around you, what impact does that have to then the people, the police officers, maybe like yourself in that situation?
Colossal, massive. If you're in situations like I was in St. Paul's in Bristol, a lot of the times it's pretty dark stuff you're dealing with. You know, it's you're dealing with some really difficult situations, some very personal situations with people. You know, you're really fighting a very difficult sort of battle there. And there's times when it feels quite lonely, especially when you're out on the streets as a police officer on your own, and you know, and you're trying to deal with so many difficult situations. And to know you've got that support, you've got someone there who really cares about you. It just, well, it means everything.
And at what point during your journey, whether it being be a police officer or into your businesses, the dairy businesses, or other things that you've done, at what point did you realize that you could have a greater impact and you wanted to share your story with the wonderful people out there to make them people achieve extraordinary things?
What happened was I sort of bullshitted my way into the IT industry as a sales guy. I made out I knew a lot more than I did know. And what happened was I became quite a successful salesperson. And as a result of that, in their madness, the people who owned the company decided to give me 150 salespeople to start with to look after. And at first, I just couldn't believe how difficult it was trying to manage people. You know, I'm a reasonably nice guy. Like most people, I get on with most people. I was a fairly good salesperson, and I thought it'd be a piece of cake. I was so wrong. It was so difficult. It was so difficult. But part of the role I had to do was I had to sort of, I always looked at motivation as being like a sort of, you know, football or a tire with a puncture and keep pumping it up all the time. I think Zig Ziglar once made a quote about that, about, you know, motivation needing to be regularly pumped up. I can't remember the quote, but anyway. But basically, every week I used to have to sort of stand up in front of my people and try and motivate them. And you know, I still get really, really nervous when I speak at events. I don't get anything like as nervous as what I used to do. I'm a lot better with it these days. But in those days, I'd be sort of terrified of standing up in front of a crowd of people. Anyway, cutting the story short, I started to really enjoy it, and I found that if I could be myself and sort of be sort of quite humorous as well, and put messages across in a different way that they'd ever heard before, I could really help sort of motivate them. So I just sort of fell in love with it, and I started doing talks in front of all my people all the time, and I was always thinking of innovative ways of putting a message across that wasn't boring. I mean, you know, that some of the people you hear, you know, for goodness sake, you know, I mean, some of the stuff we used to talk about was so sort of serious. But if you can just sort of find a way of making it different and touching some people's emotions and making them laugh as well, then that message becomes memorable. So that's when I discovered it. That's when I found out, actually. And then what happened was I started doing these talks, and people started bringing people along to them. It sounds wacky. And then what happened one evening, I'm doing a talk in the middle of our main sales floor, and one of my guys came up to me and said, "Oh, one of our biggest customers was at the back of the room listening to that, and he wants to have a word with you." And at first I was like, "Oh no," because we haven't just been talking about motivation, we've been talking about profits, you know, profit and figures and bottom line. And he was a lovely guy, a guy called Ron Fenwick, who had a company, he's probably still a guy called Equinet. And Ron just said to me, if I got all my people together from my company one night, and I got pizzas in, whatever, could you come and tell my people what you just told your people? And I did that, and then one of his friends in London contacted me, and then I spent the next 7 years running around in my spare time, sort of doing these talks, and trying to come up with new material and new ways of putting messages across to people. And that was it. My pilot light was lit, and woof, I was off. I discovered something that I could really genuinely say I absolutely love it, and realised I could hopefully make a living from it. So that's how it all happened. Yeah. Thanks, Ron.
And why is it important that you make these messages humorous and relatable and ones that are to remember than just your average motivational speaker messages that you often hear?
Many years ago, when I was on hospital radio in Weston-super-Mare, I went along to interview a Radio 1 DJ called Gary Davis on Radio 1. Some of you are probably too young to remember that. And Gary used to have a show, I think it was called Gary's Bit in the Middle. Anyway, I went along and I got, when I'd finished doing the interview with Gary Davis for hospital radio, Sunshine Radio, I got chatting to I can't remember his name, but he was a lovely man. He was a BBC radio producer. And I always just remember he said to me, be different. If you want to get anywhere, be different. And in my head, I thought, well, that's great news because I can just be myself, because at the end of the day, we're all unique. We're all different, you know? I mean, you know, someone once joked, you know, I can't be anyone else because everyone else is taken, yeah. So I thought, well, I'll just be me. And when I'm sat at conferences listening to other speakers, if you are speaking at a conference and you're listening to this, please just be yourself. And if you make a mistake, if you screw up, so what? It really, you know, no one cares. It doesn't matter. They'll just, you know, the best speakers I ever hear at conferences are the people who come out and they talk from their heart. I've actually heard, if you come out and you're trying to be, I don't know, Barack or Michelle Obama as a speaker, it'll be crap because you're not them. You know, you're you. So don't try to be something you're not. You know, and I'll hear people come out that they're sort of like, what's the best expression? They're like, oh, not zombies. What's the word, Luke? They're sort of like robotic. I are in the trying to think. They're sort of androids, like androids, and they'll come out and well, a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What a pleasure it is to be here. And it's just fake, you know. It's just they're trying to be this professional speaker, and people are shuffling around and they're just looking forward to the coffee break, and then they've been talking for 15 minutes. That's all you can hear, you know. And then the only sentence you hear is, I'll come back to that later. They say, okay, no, please don't come back to it. Honestly, let's have I'm being cynical here, but it's because they're not engaged with the audience. There's no emotion, there's no chemistry, there's no connection. It's just what, you know, it's just them basically. It's two-dimensional. So the best speakers I hear, and I hear people say this, come out on stage and say, listen, guys, you know, I've got to be honest, I'm petrified up here. You know, but I just wanted to say a couple of things to you. You know, I want to say thank you, and I just wanted to talk about, if that's you, do that. Don't try and come out and, you know, be some, whatever you picture in your head as some amazing orator. That's it. Don't try to be an orator. Be yourself. And if you make a mistake, so what? And I'll tell you what, if you do that, people will be leaning forward in their seats, so they'll be listening, because you're talking from your heart. You mean it, and people can relate to that.
And during these times, what have you been working on? Any new projects? Any new things you've been exciting to launch?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Luke Rees. Thank you. I certainly am. I'm writing a new book. It's all about TNTs, those tiny noticeable things. It's called TNTs. And I'm going to use this opportunity to say, please, if you know of a TNT experience where somebody has taken that little extra step for somebody, where someone has done a little act of kindness that's made a bit of a difference, especially during the times we're going through at the moment, I would absolutely love to hear about it. If you go to my website, which is adrianwebster.com, go to the TNT's wanted page, and all I need is literally a couple of sentences and really brief outline of the story. And with your permission, I'd love to put that in my new book. It's a book full of TNT stories, and some of them are really simple. Some of them are really heartwarming stories. Some of them are funny. And don't, please, when you're thinking about that TNT story, don't sit there thinking, this wouldn't be interesting to somebody. It's really, really simple. You'd be amazed. It could be really important to somebody else. It could make a big difference.
And if people wanted to read any of your previous books, where can you buy them and
if
find
they
them
want
from?
to, if they've got a wonky table leg or they need something propping up, they can, the Polar Bear Pirate books. Yes, there's Polar Bear Pirates, their quest to reach Fat City. There's the Polar Bear Pirates and their quest to engage the sleepwalkers. The Sort Your Brain Out, which I did with a wonderfully talented, lovely Dr. Jack Lewis, the TV neuroscientist. Sort Your Brain Out. That's actually a really useful read. I learned so much from writing that book with Jack over 2 years about the brain, and it's the thing that does all the thinking. We never give any thought to it, and so that's it. So the Polar Bear Pirate books, the Sort Your Brain Out. But please, 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 if you do have a TNT, please go to my website. Let me know about it. It could be a real help to someone, and I'd love to put it in my book. Thank you.
And before I close this fantastic conversation we've had today, I just want to finish off with acknowledging you for being a fantastic leader, a fantastic storyteller, but most importantly, a superb motivational speaker. Having had the honor of listening to you at a previous event, you blew me away with your human, relatable stories, and it's something that's always stayed with me, and it's something that today I implement in my businesses with the TNTs, but also in everyday life with my family, my friends, my parents, and I've never underestimated it more than ever now because of the impact that you've had. So on behalf of myself and everyone you've inspired through your motivational talks, your stories.
I heard you, Luke, I don't think I heard you speak, and you blew me away, buddy. So you're a star, and it's a real pleasure to come on this and spend some time chatting to you. So you are an inspiration. You are. So thank you very much. No, you're very kind. Thank you so much. Thank you, Luke.
Now, before we finish up this episode, I finish up every podcast with something called my final 5, which is 5 rapid fire questions to summarize this interview.
Right, go.
So question number 1, what are you grateful for?
Being here, most grateful, my health, and having been able to find something in life, to find the thing I love doing and make a living from it.
And question number 2, what is the one thing that every business or leader can be doing right now?
Can be thinking about what the big picture is, thinking about how they can engage their people, how they can really help their customers, because they're going to need it when we eventually start pulling out of this, how they're going to be in a position to best help people that they're going to, either their employees or their customers out there. What can they be doing to make their working environment even better than it is now? And some of those TNT things they can be doing that are going to be really of use to their customers.
And question number 3, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Be different. And I take it from that, putting it a different way, be yourself. Be yourself. Don't try to spend no matter what you are. If you like standing on the end of a railway platform, train spotting, go do it. If you like, I don't know, making kites out of coat hangers, go do it. Whatever your belief, whatever your sexuality, whatever your tastes in life, whatever you are in life, be what you are. I think that's the key to contentness. Don't spend your life trying to be something you're not.
And question number 4, what is one behavior or trait that you believe that is important for leaders to have?
Belief.
And perfectly moving on to our last question number 5, what does believing in yourself mean to you?
Believing in yourself, let's break that down. First of all, it's knowing yourself, being honest with yourself, and deciding what next steps you're going to take. What are you going to start doing tomorrow that's going to be allow you to become the person that you were always destined to be? And the best way of seeing that is release that inner child, that little person that turned up at the school gates all those years ago and became conditioned by other people's thinking, other people's opinions. I'll tell you a quick fact here, Lou. Research a few years ago said that the average 5-year-old uses up to 80% of their creative potential. By the time that 5-year-old gets age of 5, that 80% drops to 2%. 2%. Some research done more recently said that most adults are 96%, less creative than they were as a young child. So I would say, let that inner person inside you have the opportunity to live the life that you were meant to be, that it was meant to have. Let that person out